Hi, welcome to the quiz. This very quiz can be done on quizalto.com, where you'll be able to get instant feedback with detailed answers and explanations. The link is in the description below. Quizalto has an extensive library of quizzes you can take for free, and we also have an impressive number of premium quizzes for more advanced levels. As you take quizzes, Quizalto helps you track your progress over time. If our quizzes are not enough for you, you can even create your own quizzes using AI, and they don't even have to be about AWS products. Okay, let's get started. Good luck. What is a recommended approach for maintaining data consistency in AWS Elastic Disaster Recovery? Increasing storage capacity. Regularly synchronizing data between primary and backup sites. Implementing content delivery networks. Deploying multiple VPCs in the same region. Which of the following is not a benefit of using AWS Elastic Disaster Recovery? Increased data security. Lower costs for disaster recovery infrastructure. Simplified disaster recovery planning. Reduced downtime during outages. What is a limitation of AWS Elastic Disaster Recovery for disaster recovery testing? Limited availability of test environments. Impact on production workloads during testing. Dependency on manual recovery procedures. High cost of test data generation. What is a benefit of using AWS Elastic Disaster Recovery for file system backups? High availability of GPU resources. Automated resource provisioning. Ensuring rapid recovery of critical files. Real-time data analytics. What is a key feature of AWS Elastic Disaster Recovery for infrastructure resilience? Automated virtual machine decommissioning. Automated GPU resource allocation. Automated data encryption. Automated fault tolerance testing. What is a recommended practice for optimizing costs with AWS Elastic Disaster Recovery? Automating resource lifecycle management. Implementing custom encryption algorithms. Increasing data replication frequency. Deploying redundant data centers. What is a benefit of AWS Elastic Disaster Recovery for maintaining regulatory compliance? Increased virtual machine density. Global content distribution. High-speed data processing. Data retention and audit logging. What is a recommended approach for optimizing AWS Elastic Disaster Recovery for scalability? Minimizing data transfer costs. Using fixed block storage volumes. Utilizing only static IP addresses. Implementing auto-scaling policies. What is an advantage of using AWS Elastic Disaster Recovery for application migration? Unlimited compute resources. Real-time data replication. Automated software patching. Minimized downtime during migration. What is a limitation of AWS Elastic Disaster Recovery for cross-account disaster recovery? Incompatibility with serverless architectures. Limitations in database schema compatibility. High data transfer costs. Management complexity for access policies. What is a recommended best practice for disaster recovery using AWS Elastic Disaster Recovery? Infrequent updates to recovery documentation. Regular testing of recovery procedures. Single region data redundancy. Manual backup scheduling. What is a key feature of AWS Elastic Disaster Recovery for automating recovery workflows? Orchestration of recovery steps. Single-click resource termination. Automated container deployments. Real-time database backups. What is an essential consideration for implementing AWS Elastic Disaster Recovery for mission-critical applications? High availability architecture. Dynamic resource allocation. Monthly performance reviews. Single availability zone deployment. What is a key feature of AWS Elastic Disaster Recovery plans? Automated routing of network traffic. Automated runbooks for recovery procedures. Automated tagging of resources. Automated image recognition for data classification. What is a key consideration for implementing AWS Elastic Disaster Recovery for enterprise workloads? Single instance deployment. Scalable data replication mechanisms. Static IP addressing. Manual failover procedures. What is a key feature of AWS Elastic Disaster Recovery for data archival? Automated data obfuscation. Long-term retention of historical data. Instantaneous data restoration. Single-click database deployment. Which of the following is a limitation of using AWS DRS for disaster recovery? Inability to replicate Active Directory configurations. Limited data transfer bandwidth options. Not supporting replication across multiple availability zones. Inability to recover individual files or folders. What is a key feature of AWS Elastic Disaster Recovery for data redundancy? Static IP address assignment. Real-time data analytics. Manual backup scheduling. Cross-region data replication. What is a key consideration for disaster recovery planning with AWS Elastic Disaster Recovery? Disabling real-time monitoring. Increasing data encryption. Utilizing only single availability zone deployments. Defining recovery point objective and recovery time objective. What is a recommended approach for monitoring AWS Elastic Disaster Recovery? Using AWS CloudWatch for real-time metrics. Implementing periodic manual checks. Decreasing alarm thresholds. Disabling logging to conserve resources. What is a benefit of AWS Elastic Disaster Recovery for managing operational risks? Reduced impact of service disruptions. Highly compressed data backups. Manual recovery operations. Limited cross-region data replication. What is a recommended best practice for ensuring data security with AWS Elastic Disaster Recovery? Decreasing data compression ratios. Disabling backup encryption. Utilizing static IP addresses for resources. Implementing encryption for data at rest and in transit. What is a use case for AWS Elastic Disaster Recovery for database backups? Hosting web applications. Implementing container orchestration. Optimizing query performance. Ensuring data consistency and integrity. What is a benefit of AWS Elastic Disaster Recovery for cross-region redundancy? Manual data replication. Automated database schema updates. Increased fault tolerance. Decreased data durability. What is a key advantage of using AWS Elastic Disaster Recovery for backup storage? Highly scalable application deployments. Secure and durable storage with flexible pricing. Real-time log analysis. Low latency data transfers. And that's a wrap. Thanks to everyone who participated. Remember, you can answer along on quizalto.com, where you can keep track of your progress and find much more quizzes. We hope you had a fun and challenging time. Until next time. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel for more. Hit the bell icon to be notified as soon as we upload. Please leave a comment if you have any thoughts or suggestions, and if you think this video is worth sharing with someone who could benefit from it, please forward a link to them. See you next time. Thanks for watching.